than you spend, that's all it is, you know?
Well, and I know that we've met the mayor at, at the luncheon, and is she active at all? Is it, no, she's not.
She just got a different,
She refers to herself as a ribbon cutter.
yeah.
Oh, she says that.
And
She's
she's,
PR.
And that's
she's a
what
good
she
with
wants. That's what she wants to do.
yeah, she believes that's her role, and that's, which it can be, you know.
Well, it's
I
an
mean,
important role.
Huh?
It's an important role to get out and
Yeah.
show the people that you're into, you know, and it would be a really fun thing, but
Yeah,
that's
but
not.
she doesn't get out. You know,
No, I've
I mean,
never seen
I'm in everybody's business all the time, and it's not that I want to be mayor to be mayor. I just want to see the city go, you know?
So we have to change the city charter?
Yeah. If
What does that take?
Because Zeal's, if you know, if you got like, let's say if I was mayor and Heverlin was the city manager and Zeal was the CFO, because that's what he did, right? He was texting me last night, he had all these ideas, right? But you gotta get past the, you know, the werewolves over there.
Yeah.
That still think that, they kind of think like her, you know, it's like, I don't know, I can't understand how they don't, you know, like, you know, after here about 6 months ago, I remember he said, well, let's meet up at Skip's place, right? They didn't know where it was. How? I'm more
Didn't you know where
Griffith.
Didn't you know where the development was?
Yeah, mayor, she's like, well, where's his office? I said, up in development. Well, that's up on 8th Street, right?
That's a problem.
That's
a big problem.
I take it personally, stuff like that, it just frustrates.
Does she have a day job? What's her day job?
No.
She's
Oh,
retired.
no.
Retired anesthesiologist, I think.
See, this is an ego thing.
Up
She
north.
needs to be able to say on the mayor.
No, I don't think so. After meeting her, it was the previous mayor that really kind of said, because I sat at the
Bonnie was
table
a
with her
little
last
more
time,
active.
and she said, I brought her in as the mayor, right? So, I know. But
Oh, I
she
know.
does, she's a
Oh, this
nice
is at
enough
the little
lady.
meeting, the
Who
little.
said that, Bonnie or Mary Lou?
Bonnie. Bonnie's the former mayor,
Bonnie
right?
fought me
So-
on the
She was
year.
pretty active.
Well, it sounded like she was. So I was sitting at the table with them when we had a luncheon here and just introducing. And Bonnie was the one who was the talkative one, and Mary Lou was just pretty quiet sitting next to her. But Bonnie said, yeah, when I retired from being the mayor, I found her, and she got, doing this, and Mary Lou was just smiling, and she's pleasant, and maybe that's it.
No,
And she wants to be the PR person.
She is, you know, and she's.
But she should be out there more, being the
She
PR
should be
person.
in there. Just on the bottom line, it's your ass gotta go.
Well, we go to all the council meetings and he's right. It's, yeah.
Does she go? Is she
Well,
there?
she runs the
She
meeting.
has-
Oh, she runs the
Yeah.
meeting, oh, she at least run, okay.
Yeah.
I had some projects. I'd like other people to hear about my idea of this city. I live over here on Junk Lane, overlooking the most beautiful place on earth. And
Junk lane.
we could put 100 apartments like he talks about, from me on down to the corner. And I have a 40-foot right-of-way behind my house and the railroad. There's another one next to me, it's not mine, but another one that would leave complete travel to the back lots that they're talking about building 12 or 15 units on. They could build 100 apartments back there. And I mean 100 of them, easy. With a full driveway back there and come out down here, drive right behind us. Across the street where they're gonna put where the police department is, I wanna see that full with all parking underneath it. Don't let them build individual units. Park, put 100 people in the apartments about, like he says, 100, and make this place grow to accommodate the people. Because right now, when the employees park, all the parking is filled up in this week now.
Last night I asked that question about the road back there, and they got it funded. They got it funded to build it. They're just doing the engineering, and next year
Morning.
2020.
Morning. How are you?
They are gonna build it. There's the guy right there, that's in the city, man.
I'll donate,
That's him right there.
I'll donate the roadway free behind my place. Nobody else will do that. But when you stop and see how many people could be filled in here, leaving our place beautiful, all these parks, make them stay parks. You know, there's 5 of them along here. And people are gonna build on here. So we must put a place for them to park.
Yeah.
Otherwise, the town is full of park employees and no place for anyone to stop and spend their money. It's wide open. I have people come, they've had to walk for 5, 6, 7 blocks to come and see where they could get a bite to eat. Well, this place could be booming with businesses that are working as long as we create parking along this whole area. But all I hear is 4 or 5 apartments or this or that. We got the cop department here, that'll all be all parking underneath and buildings above it. And put money in this community that's making money rather than costing money.
Yeah, exactly, George. Dave Wilbrecht just showed up. He's the interim city manager, and he's got all the answers.
You know, I have a great business. I don't need more, but this community needs a lot more. And out my back door in both directions look like a duck yard. Most beautiful place on earth, overlooking the marina. But it's all wasted. And if we allow them to lock it up and back in, a lot of it's gonna be wasted forever. But it is so set up with little parks at the end of those roadways and places to build it. We can build underneath them two units before you get to the road. So it's amazing to be about 15 units versus 100 units. And that's all money for the city to put in their fund. I don't need it, but I'd like to see the community use it. I got the best piece of ground in the country according to me.
Do you know George, Dave? George owns a Thai place.
Oh, great, nice to see you.
And maybe we'll go around real quick and just start. George, Thai place, go ahead.
Dan Ridiger from White Rock. Nice to meet you again.
Yep, Tyler.
Tyler Mitchell, Christ the King.
Sit closer to him.
I'm in the shade now, I'm feeling good.
Yeah.
I'm fine, that's okay, thank you.
This is our city manager? Our interim city? No, this is Dave, right?
Dave, right.
Dave.
What's your name?
You got it.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It's pronounced Cashew.
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 And I'm Karen with Rockwood Realty here in Blaine
Great.
for this office. Nice to meet you.
Katie Jansen with JIJ Corporation.
Skip Jansen.
Same thing.
John Rockwood.
I'm Becky Murphy with Rockville Realty.
Okay.
All right, yeah, so we've just been kind of chatting along, Asu kind of introduced himself, and George here's given us the Blaine, the vision again, and he's got a great spot down there, and he's willing to give, now tell him about the giving property away again.
Thank
The
you.
potential of this area is unbelievable. We put an 8-foot rise over the railroad down here, and people can drive all the way down to that park all the time without having to stop.
We just need about 30 million for that, if you can get that.
Okay. But I will donate my back of my property for a roadway. I won't charge it $9 for it. So there's transportation to all they could build all the way around us. And we gotta get the cars off the street here and in parking. So this unit over here, where they're gonna build, where the police department is, should have apartments or parking all the way underneath it, every bit. They can put 50, 60 cars there. But when you put 50 or 60 cars downtown here, we don't have any place for somebody to stop and spend money. I have a good business, I don't need that. I have 13 parking spots on my place, but nobody else has. That's hard to believe. But, and somebody's gonna build next to me, that's a complete open area. Can you imagine 50 or 60 cars parked underneath, the same on the next one that builds on? And instead of they building a few $1 billion, they got multi-billion-dollar building projects over there, if they will use it. And it doesn't waste this country. We can do it all cheaply.
The most important that I was made survey for the investment, believe or not, you don't have any problem for the investment. There are the $1 billion can be invested by the foreign investor, like Canadian, and because I practically use the feasibility, and believe or not, everybody was asking me that what type of investment, that we can do. So if you have clear plan for 5 years or 10 years, if you want to go fast, like 5 or 10 years master plan, where if you prioritize the area where you need exactly to invest fast. So if there is issue for the investment, believe or not, you can get very fast whatever you want for your city. This I am as a outsider telling you the true which I made, the feasibility for the city. So you don't have problem for investment. Only you need to build the exactly 5-year master plan where everybody has to just go and work for the target. So I think the major problem which everybody has the investment. So you have the local investment and international investment available. So that's prioritize what exactly you needed for the apartment, tourism, and infrastructures, and franchise, and I was told that since 5 years back this was a cheap area. Now you cannot find even place for the everything is go, and it will I think within a 3 to 5 years it will go 100% up everything. So investor has a chance to find this opportunity and convert into the business. But
you think things will double in price?
Yeah, absolutely. The price will go up because this is the right. I have seen many who I know that they have the offices in Canada and they have offices here, and they are even looking the right place. They are also looking to build their offices because this is the gateway. And in the community and weather is fantastic. Even I was expecting when I left Maryland, I thought there would be a very cold and different weather. I brought the warm clothes, but really this is the best weather I have seen more anywhere in the United States.
Mm-hmm.
So that is also you have advantages that you can capitalize. So only need to focus that clear plan where everybody believe that this will not change and his long-term investment is safe. Then that will be very good for this city.
It's good word, I hope you're right.
Yeah.
I mean, not double. That's a lot. But even if you're 25 or 30%, 40%, it's good investment.
Is there a master plan?
They're working on
Comp plan. There's a comprehensive plan. Going back to the parking, the city years ago made a decision through, public process to eliminate the requirement for downtown parking for builders. I don't know how current that is, but there was I remember conversations about discouraging, the sense of discouragement if a person has to put parking in. So there's street parking, right, or parking lots that are available that are owned by private. So when you start talking about adding structured parking, that becomes pretty tough economically. I mean, for a public project like a police department, it's what's it, $40,000 or $50,000 a stall? I don't know what it is here now. When I was working in California, it was nearly $100,000. So you have to calculate the value of that stall relative to the cost of the building and the return on investment. I mean, particularly in retail, I mean, that's a different animal compared to industrial or other kinds of commercial enterprise. So I don't disagree with you. I think parking is really important, but who pays for it? Where's it at? I mean, it becomes pretty expensive. And that's why businesses don't like to use up their square footage for parking lots. They prefer to build productive. So, good conversation to have. And now's the time to have it, right? Because the buildings aren't there. Once something's built, nobody wants to tear it down.
Figure it out. Is it cheaper when we're planning it now, to put parking in here? Or is it cheaper to have our employees parking and having all the area to stop, and nobody can stop and spend money? They can only drive through because no place to park.
I've seen cities put that kind of parking outside the business center and bus employees into the center so that they don't use up parking on surface parking that they want their customers to have.
Here they can park there and spend the money there.
Yeah, so those are the strategies as
They're not gonna ride a bus
well.
out here to shop. They'll go to Bellingham.
So I talked to Bob Christensen. You guys probably know Bob. He used to own the hardware store. He sold it to his daughters, and his comment to me was that if you're going to buy in his market, if you're going to buy $5 worth of something, you're going to go to his store probably because it's $5. You're going to go there. If it's $10, maybe you're going to go if it's something you really need. 15, you're really now talking about whether or not you're going to buy locally or not, because the value of that in the potential penny savings between Lowe's and his store. Then at the Lowe's store, there's just so much more purchasing opportunity where you can buy many things that you maybe deferred. So pricing is very sensitive here.
There's a chair here.
I bite.
Morning,
All of that
Good
Good
morning.
Is that his experience at his
Yeah.
store?
Yeah.
That he sees that the local people are coming in, not spending very much?
Yeah, well, depends on who it is, right? If it's a contractor doing a project, they might spend more. We remodeled a house we bought, and we drove everything through that store. We bought windows, and we bought as much as we could locally because that's what locals need to do. They need to buy locally if they can, but not everybody will do that. Of course, it depends on what their circumstance and needs are and how much they have to spend. But he said that if you're going to spend $15, you might consider going to
I'm having a hard time hearing you guys.
It's gonna come right down this way of the community.
But that's interesting. Yeah.
I can't hear him talking. Luckily I have this.
You're lucky.
So Dave, what was the building supply store?
The local art store,
local.
Pacific Building.
Sorry, they said their sales are coming off?
No.
Oh, okay.
I said that Bob many years ago when I was working as a
Oh,
city manager,
right.
said that if you're going to spend $5, you're going to go to his store. If you're going to
Right.
spend 15,
Right.
you're thinking about going to Bellingham.
Right.
Just because you're going to spend $15 or more. That's just
Gas.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's just that's
Those numbers are
that's how
probably
his,
not enough.
Yeah.
that was his experience with
Yeah.
people coming in and spending money in the store. So I guess the point I was making is it is price sensitive, which makes it, or people go north. Now it's more difficult with border crossing, but a lot of people would just go into Canada. Part of a city, generally a city, for example. I'm not sure if this size. Well, you can use Linden. It's a full service city, right? It has recreation facilities, theater facilities. It has all
Library.
kinds of
Do
it
you
has
ever see
all
that
kinds of
sports
city-related
facilities? Yeah.
facilities, sports fields.
Do you see that happening for Blaine somehow, or?
Well, I think what's happened is that the city of Blaine, well, I'll back up a little bit. My early career was in Parks and Recreation. So I built and managed facilities in Federal Way and City of Redmond and places like that. And, you know, sports facilities, youth sports, they're economic drivers. We built a big sports complex for softball, and we generated, you know, up to $4 million a year in tax revenue from people coming in to play softball. And they've got to have a place to stay, run big national tournaments. So sports facilities have a lot of economic capacity. Here, we don't have really any of those except for the school facilities out of Pipeline Road.
Yeah.
And those are very limited because there's no lights, right? So the citizens in Blaine really aren't energized around trying to do that. There's not enough youth sports in particular, right? Federal Way had, you know, 125,000 people and 3 or 4 Little League programs, each one of them having 1,000 kids in it. So there's a huge drive for sports facilities that drive, you know, development. Here, I don't see that because there's just not enough.
Well, there is demand, because remember there was that, remember last year with Tom Hayes down there? Then Mark Shinteffer's not in place, Shinteffer was saying, remember there's lots of demand, like for a 10-court complex. And I think Bellingham City is trying to work on something, but no one's been able to do one in a long time.
They're opening up a big one in Skagit County.
Yeah,
for
that was
pickleball.
the competing, I think that was the one that was competing, though, whoever would build it first, that would be fine. And they said up here, Blaine would have been fine if we could build one, but where it would be, I don't know how it
Wasn't there Ferndale too that had something?
But I've got that soccer stick, that 66, right? And then we're trying to look at doing more indoor domes there. But there's a report going around, like about who in Whatcom County will build that 10 court. They said the 10-court facility, because then you'll get hotels and all this stuff around it.
As soon as you can start running tournaments.
Yeah, because they said there's so much demand for tournaments, and then and people are putting their kids, you know, they don't mind paying, you know, whatever it is, $56 an hour even for like private coaching and things like that.
Yeah, premium sports for children is a big deal.
But what is the goal for Pipeline, that area out there? Do you know?
It's part of the urban growth plan. So there is a desire for the city to grow that direction. The biggest constraint of growth now is the annexation of East Blaine of H Street. Right? All of the density for development, residential development, sits on those properties. The property you guys own, properties in Grandis Pond, all of that has all been platted out or will be platted eventually. So until those growth areas are built, then the city can't annex.
But that's the residential side, like we're talking about sports fields and like other things like that. Shouldn't that be there, or?
You know, I can't remember the zoning. I think there is some commercial in that direction, but I don't remember. And back when I was here early on, we did have an annexation on the corner of Odell next to the fire station. There was a piece of property that they wanted to annex, which we did.
Yeah.
And I can't remember what the purpose of that was.
Is that their industrial?
I think that's the one where Scott lost his tractor yesterday, the one that we had tied up. Yeah, is that the corner of Sweet and Odell?
Yeah, it seems like
It's
that
11,
was.
it's 11 acres.
That sounds about
See, I'm
right.
doing due diligence on it right now, but it's ton of it is wet though.
Yeah, that's a problem.
Right, like, so I'm trying to figure out what to do with it.
Meeker left a tractor there and somebody put it on the trailer and hauled it away.
Oh.
Yeah,
That's
so be careful
I
with your
know.
stuff over, yeah.
Oh my God.
Someone winched it, because we couldn't even, because me
Yeah, we
and Mike
tried
tried
to
to turn it
go.
on one day with the ignition, and the ignition was shot. So he just left it and go there, and someone actually winched it.
I think the
Oh,
crack
tell me about
in there.
the mail.
Yeah, yeah, so.
Tractor sitting up
I guess if you leave it long enough, it's fair game. Huh?
there. Yeah, and I think there's crackheads living in the house. They weren't there
Yeah.
when I was mowing, but
Yeah, they must be in there.
Because they knew you'd run them over.
yeah.
No, they probably come at night, right? I'm assuming.
Yeah, I'm sure they just sat and watched and watched and watched.
Yeah,
and-
and no one was picking it up.
Did something happen to your mail?
Oh, there was just mail scattered all through our project this morning. Somebody must have stolen mail and
So I was there.
then, as they were driving through, they were throwing it out the window. Just opening up envelopes with their checks.
Oh, yeah.
It's fine. There's other people driving through looking too.
Yeah.
Oh, that's weird.
We've seen that one other time, right at the entrance to the Martin property. It was just a great big pile. Somebody just comes in and just go through everybody's mailbox.
So Dave, how do we attract though that Linden model? I mean, lots of people talked about it because they've got like the big tractor places and like, so they get tons of sales tax revenue. I mean, do you see any way that we can attract any of that stuff to Blaine?
Well, they have a unique characteristic, right? It's a big ag
Yeah.
facility, community with all of their fields.
What about
around them.
on the boat side or marine side? Is there any, have you seen anything here that we could?
Well, the last time we had talked, this has been a few years back, we had a company that wanted to build a big marina, a dry land marina. City went through gyrations.
Yeah.
We rezoned,
Yeah, so
upsized
that was
the
great.
height requirements, and did all kinds of changes to accommodate that developer. And that was out of Portland, I recall.
Yeah.
And I don't know what's happened to that.
I talked a little about that to Ken Bell, and Ken Bell said they're back on board. I don't really know what that means, but he said that when they were gonna do it before, the harbor was like 70% occupied. Now it's 100% occupied with people backed up to get in there. And they've been talking to him, is the last I heard. And I did talk to him about what they're gonna do down here, and he said, they're right in the middle of it right now on August 25th, I got it on my calendar. He's gonna give me a call and then he'll come up and present to us what they're doing down here, the port's gonna do down here. They wanna make a working waterfront. And so that's kind of where that's at. That's as far as I've got.
And Ken's with the port?
Yeah.
Ken Bell, one of the port commissioners.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm not sure, is he the liaison with Blaine?
Not yet, yeah.
I was.
Isn't there a local?
And that's the only guy that represented me.
Yeah, I know. Isn't there a local guy who said that was on the port commission too?
Oh,
Was
yeah,
he was a fisherman or something like that?
Yeah. He was elected when I was in the office.
Yeah, you said he's a local fisherman.
Yeah.
And that's someone to, I mean, if he lives in Blaine, maybe that's someone to reach out to get a bit early in August.
He's gonna, I remember there was a little conflict because he wanted nothing to do with any condos or
Yep.
apartments, or he just wanted totally fishing down there, and that's kind of what it came down to, was that's what they were gonna, because working waterfront, they said from Olympia all the way up to Bellingham, all these working waterfronts have turned into apartment complexes and retail and this, and he goes, there's such a high demand. They need the boat facilities to fix boats and do this and that. I mean, honestly, the way they were talking to me, and I drove them all over, it sounded like they're really gonna spruce it up down there, right? They're gonna put in new web lockers, and they wanna put in, like, they actually wanna, I think they're gonna make a proposal to buy the other side of that road down there and fix that road, and go to the end of the pier and put, so kinda like, it'd be, you know how we have farm to table, this would be like sea to table or ocean to table. They put storefronts down there that would be like a crab, or a fish place to buy fish, but they actually, on the backside, the boats can come in, unload there, and it'll be a visual, kind of like the old Shakey's Pizza where you used to watch them make pizza, but it'll be for tourists to come down there and take a peek, they want to make it like cutesy, looks nice, but actually it's a working waterfront, so you can see. Yeah, so they got a place on the East Coast called, Mystic Seaport, and it's in Connecticut. And me and Sky were there one time when we were told by the fishermen here to go there and take a look at that. And it was really cool. I mean, it was. They did kind of what they're talking about here, but they actually had the old boat builders down there where they were bending the wood with the steam and stuff, and they were actually making boats, But it sounded like they wanted to put a ton of money into this down here and make it, because we're at first, that's where the city, there was a little diversity going on there, because they thought they were gonna build condos and stuff down there, and then they said, no, we changed our mind because of this, this, and this, and they said, because I kind of pushed, I said, look, they said we were gonna do that, you know, this, and they said, well, if you guys wanna build, you on the right-hand side, just start building down that side, you know. They were pretty stiff on, he said, they made their mind up, because they hadn't, honestly is what he said, they hadn't had a good working relationship, you know, with the city.
I don't know about that. We were always open.
Not you.
So they just said that they wanted to change because I think the city of Blaine already has a wharf master plan in place to do residential down there, so the whole thing.
I don't know about that. I mean, the property that they're talking about is Port Pavilion property, right?
Yeah, they just said that, well, yeah.
Because didn't it come down to, was it in the Northern Light? Because it was that one, who was selling that building where they wanted that one residential unit on top of it?
The Northern Light.
The Northern Light was
Pat
selling.
Grubb owns that building.
Yeah, so
Northern Lights.
So I think they wanted to keep it residential, I think that's what happened, and then the board came back and said, we don't want any residential there, but it's in the wharf master plan. I think that's what Alex was saying, he said the current wharf, like whatever the district master plan, it says you can do residential on top and commercial on the bottom. And then the board came back and said, we don't want any residential on their side now.
Well, their property, I mean,
Yeah.
they have to change the plan to accommodate that, but.
So who changes the plan though? Is that Blaine or them or?
It's a combination. You know, the city generally doesn't just change plans on private property. They work with the property owners on what that future might look like. So the Port of Bellingham's a big property owner, right? They're important. So I can't imagine the city not consulting with them or vice versa. They wanted something different on their property, height limitations or.
Well, I think that's what they came back with though. I think they came back and said, we just don't want residential on that side anymore. I think the city of Blaine before thought that residential could be.
Yeah, I mean, that's flat out what he told me, is they won't listen to us. And
Well, you know, they're partners on so many areas, right? So, and I'm happy to give them a call and talk to.
yeah, you should, because
Talk about that,
seriously,
right?
the Jones, the word I got was when I told him he resigned, that made our day. That's exact words that came out of their mouth.
Well, that day that we had a meeting with Ken Bell, I think Alex was there.
Yeah, that's right, upstairs. Yeah,
Alex
that's what
probably has some feedback on it.
Yeah, I'll talk to them.
Yeah, talk to Alex.
But going back with about the port, the industrial side of it, you know, I remember those conversations about the need for haul out. You know, big fishing vessels they're heavy and they have a lot of contaminant kinds of materials on the bottom. And so they need places to haul them out, the big heavy duty rail type haul, not just lifting on stirrups.
Yeah.
And they need heavy track type of equipment to pull them out of the water. And this is one of the last remaining heavy pullouts on the West Coast, according to that conversation. So it was a big,
So that could be a
big
good thing
deal
for the city then. That could be a good thing for the city if we.
Yeah, I mean, if they want to restore that working facility into more industrial boats as opposed to pleasure craft, you're talking about a whole industry.
Do they have room for that, don't they, you think?
I don't know. There's a guy that does it now. I mean, you can take your boat and get it pulled, and you'll work on your boat now. That's area probably have to increase in size. There's a lot of environmental impacts that go into that project, right? You're gonna have to figure out how to maintain water quality, and it's not cheap.
Yeah.
Right? And I think that's why people pull away from them, because they just look at the cost and how you can overcome the cost of maintaining water quality and cleaning up. They're putting millions of dollars into cleanup in Bellingham, the Port of Bellingham.
Oh, they are?
Oh, yeah. All of that stuff down at Fairhaven.
Last summer, they put in some sheet piling and some, did some work. Is that the port? that did that?
Yeah, I think Port's doing a lot of it. This was contaminated, they were doing some work here too. Because all the stuff sloughs off the bottom of the boats. The old boats had, you know, lead-based paints and
Right.
those kind of things. So, but I think that's great if they are able to do that.
So then on the other side then, do you think is there any merit in doing something on the other side?
So the other side, when you're driving out the Marine Road,
Sewer
right,
treatment side.
toward
Yeah.
the sewer treatment plant,
Yeah.
that's an old garbage dump.
Yeah.
All of that's an old garbage dump.
Can you do anything on that?
Yeah, well, you can put a park on it.
That's, yeah.
Right,
You can't do it
because it's pretty
development,
inert.
though. Yeah.
But the city does own a square of land. You drive out, and it's across the street from about where the Northern Light Building is.
Okay.
Maybe a little bit further out, there's a big, it looks kind of rough. And that's a piece of property that's owned by the city that's not park zoned. It's zoned for commercial use. And there was a conversation at one time about building a multi-story building on that site, because it has just fantastic views of White Rock and of sunsets. We talked about developing that site.
On the, on the park side of things, before the water treatment plant, there's a bunch of hookups there for RVs.
Yeah, that was for Expo, that was for the World's Fair, I believe.
Oh, really? Back in '86?
Yeah, I think they put that in then because
Like a
they were.
temporary RV park or something?
Yeah, they were gonna park, but it never, a bunch of people put in RV parks around here that never worked out very well.
And was there,
Bobby
was there any type of
Yes, that's
a fair type of, like an open fair, farmer's market ever happen down there? Sometimes those pedestals are for supporting those
Yeah,
things.
it just seems like they never get used. I mean, I
Okay.
don't even think people know they could, I don't know if we, me myself, I've lived here my whole life, I don't know, I have no clue.
The Lummies used them for a potlatch a couple of times when I was here. They had the canoes come in.
Right.
And the whole tribe came and they were there for a long weekend, I think.
What about putting beach volleyball courts down there? I think would be something.
Yeah.
Or even like an outdoor basketball
But it's
court
gotta
or
be,
something.
we don't want to put, I mean, I get that, but I've got that amphitheater down there, right?
Yeah.
It never gets,
It doesn't get
never
used.
gets.
Hey, we use it.
Yeah. Oh, you do?
We clean it up and
But-
use
but,
it,
you
yeah,
know, yeah.
yeah.
So I think
We
the
did.
problem there is birds. You know, it's considered a habitat area. Right, so if you start putting ball sports in,
Right,
basketball,
okay,
tennis,
right,
those things,
okay.
that repetitive, loud,
It does have to be maintained, like when we go, so we do, every year, our church goes down there with another church, we do like a July 3rd service down there. And we always have to clean it up, it's a graffiti target down there.
Oh, it
And-
is?
'Cause no
and
one's there.
Yeah, no one's there, I mean, I've been by that amphitheater, people are sleeping in it. But we've redone the benches and stuff in the last few years, and worked on that facility. And if we spruced it up, it'd be nice, even if we were able to make it more, like more hidden in, maybe into the hill or something, take out that, the cement's pretty ugly, I think, on the inside.
Do people use it for weddings or anything, or?
I think so. It just takes a lot of cleanup. Like you said, seagulls will drop
Oh,
shells,
really?
they'll drop droppings, they'll really mess it up. But I do think it has a lot of potential, especially if it got repainted and redone.
But there's a place, I don't know if any of you guys have been to this, Latitude 49, I think, isn't it called? Have you been out there?
Yeah.
It's the old skate, or it's the old go-kart track out there for Have you been there, Dave? And seen in the back, what they got music and stuff. So you should go there. I mean,
oh, the go-kart joint
Yeah.
and the mini golf, yeah, I have been there.
Yeah, lately.
Yeah.
So did you go clear to the back where they have the bands and all that? I mean, me and Zeal and a couple other people have been out there, and like last weekend, they had some magician psychic. I mean, the place is just hilarious. I've seen a lot. And I just look at that place, it's the old go-kart track. You can't see it. It's out, you gotta drive all the way out there. You go out there and it's packed. And people are talking on it. I see the people who are there, it's our age, and you can bring your kids, you can bring your dogs. And, that right there has the same potential to me, but, if they don't want noise down there and they don't want this, well, why would they put an amphitheater there, right? I mean.
And you could line up where the RVs are, you could line up food trucks. You could have it be like a functional event space.
Yeah, I mean, somebody could, it's just, I see
But the city can't run that though, right?
I don't think so.
No, that's owned by the city, but the city can't.
But they
That-
could run
I
these
think that's
out.
parks, I think that's parks land.
That was it.
Yeah.
The problem with all those ideas is it's so seasonal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You really got 3 or 4 months of outdoor weather.
Yeah. I think we just need to focus on downtown here, you know, and up the hill. And because it seems like a lot of times we keep going, we get an idea, we spread out and start looking there, and then it comes down, we still have nothing here, you know. If we can just lock our horns on, and you get one thing done, and then another, and it just kind of spawns. But it seems like, you know, we want ball fields, we want parking, and which all that stuff comes into play. Everybody wants their own, but it never gets done unless we focus on
Housing. Yeah.
Well, that's like get the priorities figured out. It seems like the number one priority is housing.
If you had a good master plan, then a developer could come in here and it was already planned and say, okay, I can buy this chunk and do such and such with it. Like, people could make a decision and say, yeah, this is already planned this way, and they want to put such and such right here.
Well, the city thinks our plan, right? And what happens is plans get old, they need to be updated, so we're in the process of doing that. There's also a problem with giving away entitlements, right? So I'll give you a good example. I came, before Blaine, I was down in California working in a little town called Mammoth Lakes. It's the home of Mammoth Mountain ski area. And beautiful setting, you know, 8,500 feet, sitting there right in the middle of the Sierra Range. Yosemite's 20 miles to one side, and the desert is the other side. It's just gorgeous. And back in the 70s and 80s, you know, the ski area was, they were, you know, bringing in 1.5 million skiers a year, all of Southern California skiers. And just every weekend there'd just be a line of cars coming up. And so they wanted to you know, continue to expand. And then through a recession, skiing dropped off, and cost of fuel was affecting it. And so the city was just struggling financially. The businesses were struggling. You know, you can imagine this city the size of Blaine. So Mammoth had about 7,500 people full-time, grew to 35,000 on a weekend. I mean, it's just packed. Christmas weekends were crazy. So you had that little town had 50 bars, 50 restaurants to deal with a large number of visitors coming and going. And so through economic struggles and times, the city decided to create a North Village. And so it's very similar to what, in a very small way, of Whistler Blackcomb, their village. That same architecture. And you'll see it all over ski resorts. Copper has it, Aspen, it's that same mountain architecture. So they decided to create zoning for that type of development. So they did everything. They created the height allocations and densities and parking. I mean, they did all kinds of things. And so a developer could come in, just literally just take it off the shelf and build on it. And in doing that, they gave away every entitlement that they could possibly have talked about with the developer. And so the developer came in, they didn't need to do anything. They didn't need to do anything to incentivize and help the rest of the town. So as the North Village started to come out of the ground, all the other places in town realized, oh my gosh, we're going to have all of these people focusing on North Village, which is the corporate side of it. The Interwest, which was the owner of Whistler, now owns North Village. And so all the rest of the town's like, oh my gosh, we pulled our pants down. We can't get anything from this development that's going to support any other town facility or help any business in town. It was a real eye-opener for me.
So it's corporate versus local independent? Was that kind of the...
Well, they've given away all the entitlements. So if a developer comes in, talk about parking, and let's say that the business is going to drive 50 cars, right? And so you're going to have to figure out where you're going to put 50 cars. That's now a conversation. What do we do with 50 cars? Or we need a 6-inch main line, or whatever the thing is. That's a conversation back and forth to figure out how to get the development to work, and at the same time, how to, at a minimum, maintain the city as opposed to degrade the city. And you can degrade a system pretty quickly. If you run water too far out on the line, everybody in the line loses water pressure. Then you use fire flow issues, and now the fire department can't respond because you've overextended the utility.
But
there's all kinds of things that happen.
Can't they build that into the developer buying it from the beginning?
Well, it all is there, right? It's in the ground or whatever. So
A lot of that's covered by impact fees also.
Yeah, it should be, absolutely. Yeah, but if you give it all away, if you decide all ahead of time, this is what it's gonna be, the developer doesn't have to
No, but
talk
if
about
the
it.
developer pays an impact fee for every unit that goes up, that goes into the city coffers, and they can upgrade the council, or they can direct that money where they feel it's needed.
No,
But
well,
that's what you were
it can
saying,
only
is
be-
being given away, right?
Yeah, they've given the
Right-
entitlements
Right
away.
up front.
Yeah, they weren't
Yeah.
charging it, they were just letting the developers
Oh,
come in.
yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, so I don't, yeah.
But the impact fees, they're specific, the city operates as an enterprise. It has a general fund arm, which is planning and administration, but most of the city is utilities. So those are enterprise funds that have very specific rules. You can't take utility funds, electric funds or water funds or sewer funds, then put them over in the parks. You could take park money, which is general fund, and drive it into utilities, but you can't go the other direction.
So what are your thoughts on the parking in Blaine? Because I mean, that's the thing that most people complain about is like, well, if we build a bunch of stuff, there's gonna be no parking. But if you go to like Bellingham and all these other California towns, I mean, there's no parking anywhere.
Right, well, so the city has, decided, cogently that they're not gonna require parking downtown because they don't wanna discourage development.
Yeah.
I think what will happen is that as development occurs and parking becomes more and more
Yeah.
problematic, and there's more complaints about it, then the law will change, the ordinance will change, and city council members are gonna be confronted with, we're gonna have to add parking requirements.
But is there any way to get like, because I know Alex has talked about that the city was looking at bringing in like a trolley bus type thing down here. I don't know where the funding was gonna come from, but like, I mean, what are alternatives to places that are on the waterfront and there is just no ability to kind of park? Like, what do you
I
see?
mean, they wouldn't be into, like, only thing I can think of, where do you park things? Parking garage, I
Is
don't
that
know,
viable?
I don't know if it'd be feasibility, I mean, it may cost you $20 million to build a parking garage.
Well, I think that
Now
goes
it's
back,
worth it.
I think that goes back to Dave's point, is that you don't charge someone to build a parking garage, no one's gonna, like, who's supposed to build, right? The city company, to build something, but that's not that much.
But
So,
could the
yeah,
city
but-
build it?
No, that's what I mean, but that's what we were saying, right? Because if you want, the developer's not gonna pay $100,000 per parking spot they give up, right? Like, that's how much it would cost to build a parking garage. So I know it's a question that's gonna come at some point.
Eventually.
Yeah, we don't have any issues with parking now, but one day, 5 years, 10 years down the road, it's gonna be an issue. So I think what he's saying is if you don't charge people for that, who's gonna build a parking garage in the end? Or is that even what you do as a city, like, I don't even know.
Is that where you put your money?
Yeah, is that where you
That's
get, like, the
point,
city's gonna
right?
put their money in the parking garage?
Yeah, and Americans love their cars, and we like to drive right up to that curb and get out and walk
Yeah,
as
so-
few steps as possible.
But
Right,
if
so,
I look at other cities with tight parking, like in advance of development, they got people into biking and e-bikes and like, because like Fernie, British Columbia is another town just like those Whistler ones, which is a small ski town, and like, they don't, so they actually have a rule that businesses are not allowed to park their own cars on the main street. And like, I think if you live within 5 blocks or something like that, like, and every business has to have 2 bikes at their, so even people just running errands around town, like they use the bikes, they don't, just like you're saying, use their cars, because they knew it was gonna happen, but they knew they couldn't get the town moving without doing something.
We got that in front of it, no one abides by it. You have a 2-hour limit, so employees should not be parking all day on the street, but they do.
Yeah.
Problem is,
And some of them have their logos on the side,
problem
like
is,
baby boards.
Mike's 3 dogs wouldn't fit in his bike.
Basket on the front, yeah.
Actually, they've got e-trikes,
Guy's
have you
got a
seen those?
trailer.
They've got e-trikes.
E-trikes?
Yeah, have you seen those? They've got baskets on the front and.
Oh, yeah.
Honestly, this guy hauls them around, she's got a trailer, she hauls them.
but to go back to your point, I think what happens too is there are, it's a kind of a generational thing in that, so that what you described with Fernley, is it Fernley?
Fernie.
Fernie. I bet dollars to donuts that was not an easy decision. People screamed and yelled about having to give up the ability to park in front of their business.
Yeah.
And so it was controversial, it was difficult. Finally, there was enough parking pain that people decided we have to do this. We have to take this draconian action of preserving our parking for our customers, because that's where the business is, it's at the transaction. But what happens over time is the person who really complains about that, doesn't like it, they eventually will sell their business, or something, a transaction happens. The new person coming in realizes, oh, I really like this. I like to be able to have my customers park near my stores, and so over time, it all starts to fade away, because new ownership or new business development buys into those concepts. So it takes a while, it could take 10 years, 15 years for that thing to change to the point where people now think, well, we've always had it this way. It's wonderful, our city is so much better as a result of it. But initially, almost every decision like this is controversial and painful. The idea of doing structured parking downtown is brilliant. The question is, who can afford the pain of it? You know, a 50 stall facility, 3 stories, we're talking a lot of money. So that's something that has to drive that, right? So then cities impose parking fees. They'll put meters in. I mean, this cycle of craziness happens.
The only thing, I mean, this is me being the visionary type, my thoughts is this town is super unique. You know, it is. It's not different. It's different because when we get busy, we get real busy, right? I mean, Bellingham, they may increase 10% where we can increase 300%, like that, you know? Like the mailbox thing, or the milk, or the gas, or the, and when you got that many people sitting right there, and we got a little spot right here, how can we make that spot so appealing to where they come and they stay? And I've just seen, like, I mean, you go to Ferndale, and I remember my dad, I mean, at one time, a Pastime Tavern right here, it was $1 million a month in pull tabs, right? And then a month, right, for year after year. But then the casinos came in, right, and took all of it, right? So it just keeps cycling like that. But even the package stores, I mean, you think about what town in the state of Washington can, our post office did more packages a day than Everett and Mount Vernon put together, and we had 32 other package stores. So when you know, that's why it's unique. And gasoline, we probably sell more gas per capita we did at one time than any place in the United States. But you don't get that in Ferndale, you don't get that in LaConner, you don't get that, you just keep going down, you don't get that, but you get these things like that. And to me, if we can build a town where they'll come, just not for that, not come for the gas, this, we gotta build that infrastructure where they come to, like when you go to LaConner, you don't go there to buy gas, you go there to shop around, walk around, look at the place. You've got a community. And to me, this is a hyper community. It really is. It's unique. I remember Chevron used to say, they couldn't believe how much gas we were selling, right? And we had this is just a little story. We got new tills, and we were telling them that it's tough to keep up, you know, because we got to exchange Canadian, we got to do this, do that. And they're like, oh, we'll send up the trainers and the guys that train how to run the tills, right? And they got there at 8 o'clock, and we've been running them for a few months, and we had it down, and we told them, okay, you know, you guys know what to do, this and that. And within 2 hours, they just got out of there. They said, I've never seen nothing like this, right? I mean, we're selling 3,000 gallons of milk a day. We're selling butter, 2,000 pounds of butter a day. We're selling 2 truckloads of gas a day. You know, it just wasn't me. It was 17 of us doing that. And you just don't see that, right? I mean, I go to a convention in Hawaii, and there'd be every Chevron dealer there, and they'd be talking about Blaine, Washington, right? Because everybody wanted pumps.
Right.
They give the thing that this guy pumps 100,000 a month. They were talking, I didn't even know I was going to be on the screen, right? And all these people in the Hilton Hawaiian Village area. But Mike Gill, he pumps 100,000 gallons a month, and they're all like, that's nothing, you know, a lot of guys put, of milk, you know, and then it went into the gas, and these guys were, they said, if you want to ask the president of Chevron, ask him a question. Now's the time to do it. And they're like, you know, I got 4 pumps, and there's room for 4 more, and you have to get approved by Chevron to get more pumps. And they used me again for an example. Like this one guy had 8 pumps, he wanted 4 more to have 12, and he figured he could increase his volume by 10–15%. It would pay for everything. It was good, and he didn't know why Chevron wouldn't approve them. And he said, well, my fuel pumps, you know, they start with 100,000 gallons, then 600,000 gallons of gas, and he's got 4 pumps, and these guys had 12 pumps, and they were only pumping 200,000. And they're like, when you get to this level, then you may talk to us about pumps, you know? But they use Blaine. That's what I'm getting at. They use Blaine, and it's unique. That's like, when we look at like that parking garage, I think if this town's rolling, let's build the garage. We'll have the money, but we're starving to death because there's been none of that.
I think the problem is that, as you described it, is that it's transactional rather than experiential. So people are coming in for a transaction.
Right.
They're
Yep.
buying milk, they're buying gas,
Absolutely.
whatever, and then they're gone.
Yep.
Where experiential is they're coming in and they're spending time,
Yep.
they're
Yep.
interacting with other people or with the experience.
And we're
or the
starting to get
environment.
that from people like going to Starbucks. I mean, they're getting more experience. You hear it a lot more like, wow, this is the start of something, you know? I do hear it.
You guys keep talking about parking garages, but I think Dave's point is, how do you fund it? You know, that stuff is expensive.
So you gotta get people coming here. Somebody made a comment to me recently, I think I was talking about this meeting, and she is a dual citizenship, but she said, you know, why would I ever stop in Blaine?
Yeah.
I've been sitting in line at the border, and I just wanna get where I'm going. It was just this comment, she goes, I'm not gonna stop in Blaine, I've been sitting there at the border, I wanna get where I'm going. And I'd never really thought about that before, you know, that people who they're coming across the border, but if they have been sitting in line.
Well, a lot of them want to come to the line because they got to go to the restroom, one.
Uh.
And that's where we.
Well, I think that's the point Dave's saying, is they come for a transaction, so we go
Right,
to the restaurant,
exactly.
they'll get gas, look at their snacks, and they'll go.
And like I said, another
Yeah,
analogy is
exactly.
if you know fishing at all, we've been fishing with a gill net, and they're coming in, they're swimming right through us, and we need a purse net. What a purse net would be, things that are appealing that will keep people. I mean, if you're sitting in Ferndale right now, I don't think you sit there and go, let's go to Blaine tonight for dinner. You know, I mean, you may a little more, but 10 years ago, before that stuff was there, it was me and Miguel, you know, and people would come in town. You had to remember, you had all these packages, all this gas coming, but nothing else. And that's where we got to build Blaine.
The downtown is, I mean,
Yeah.
you just go back to the build downtown, build East Blaine.
Yep.
That's
Yeah,
where
and we're doing it,
come from, yeah.
but it's
And build up too. It kind of reminds me, I just thought, have you been to like State Line, Nevada? Like if you're driving from LA, you can see it at
Oh,
night.
yeah.
Like it's all like, you can see the line, like when you get to Nevada, oh, you can gamble here,
Yeah,
it's all
casinos.
lit up. And you could drive right through to Vegas, or you could stop at this town. But I think it needs, that attractional, like that, you talked about the arch, just things that say, hey, wait, before you go any further, stop here and check it out.
something appealing, because we do got 3 million people really close, and they're not poor, and we're in a beautiful situation. We're sitting at the funnel, at the end of the funnel when they come through, and the thing we got to do is have something that'll draw them in. I mean, what would think? I mean, everybody think the wildest imagination. What would draw you into Blaine if you were? Imagine you're come from North Vancouver, you're headed to Seattle. What could you see that would draw you here?
Anthony's Restaurant.
Yeah, I mean,
Right there in the corner.
well, Anthony's was here and down on the end of the port with Ken Imus. Me and Ken Imus, we sat down there and we took them all the way around and we asked them where they wanted to be, and they wanted the end, they wanted the whole dock, right? They wanted that down there. And that creates some issues there, because Bellingham owns part of it, Blaine owns part of it, I think. I don't know how it actually goes, but they were willing to, I mean, that was one time, long time ago, they were here.
How many houses are you building in Farmville?
353.
That's out as far as the construction company?
That's just on his land.
Just on his land there.
Okay.
And there's a lot more east.
How many is planned for the whole thing up to Grants Pond?
Well, there's over 500 units density on the Martin piece. trees. I don't know if we'll be able to get that because it's pretty wet. And about another 800 or 900 on Grandma's Pond.
500, so we're looking at 1,600, the whole way up.
So that'll probably fill that shopping center back up again, see?
The shopping center is actually full, it's actually leased.
Yeah. And
Yeah, I know, it doesn't look good.
it's all coming to this little community, because there's nothing else close to it. We have the capital fund right here to catch more. He's gonna get a lot of that, with the gas pumps and that. But I'm amazed at how many houses you're gonna build up there. And these are not little, these are nice homes. A lot of money gonna be spent there. And we're gonna get a lot of it here if we're careful with it.
Yeah,
And invite them down, because there's no other town close by. It's amazing.
Yeah. Plus the impact fees and the real estate revenues is all going to the city coffers.
That community is gonna make this community all over again. So it's gonna be different than we see it now. It's gonna be packed with people. The stores are not gonna have 4 or 5 cars out there in the community. It's gonna be packed with people. The restaurants, the service station, everything's gonna be full of these people that you guys are putting in there now.
Including the
Huge amount.
schools.
Yeah, actually, I want to add a few points that come under discussion. The number one, which I found when I came here, actually, I am making some documents for the Voice of America. When I entered here, and I found the most slower internet in this area, believe or not. The 5G, because I made very wonderful video, fireworks. Fireworks, if you see, I made very nice. And I wanted to upload. Believe or not, it's very slow. This area, the most which I found difficult parts, which slower internet. This is America, and 6G is talking in the market, and we don't have the the fast internet in this region. Believe or not, sometime if I do and upload, I go to the Seattle, and I did it. This even I was yesterday in the Seattle. You are the greatest mind, and you are thinking about this city and the America. If you see the American history, America is built by the businessmen like Del Carnegie and Fords, and they like you are sitting today, and we are talking about over next generation, over 50 years, over grand, kids will sit and they say, okay, 50 years back, over parents used to sit and they build city for us, because now we are talking about future. Might we can get this fruit, but I am telling you and giving you some comparison that if you see that what most important, the 3 subjects, they specify your land, because if you go China and other countries, they have one room, and there are many manufacturing. If you see what you are wearing, it's small CNC machines, and you can make as a manufacturing plant, and you can export and you can import. And we are missing this part. We can make something unique here and specify the small, manufacturers area where you have jobs, and you have something that you can manufacture yourself, which don't need any big investment. Small, that's you have the enough space and place that it can be specified and built. And the last, which I am sharing with you, which I found and I made, you don't have investment issue. Believe or not, if you give clear your plan, and your voice will be heard, and it will be listened by the government level. Believe or not, you don't have problem for the investment, which you are talking about the parking, the water. Every investor, he want to see the clear feasibility. We talk, and we now should have something that we put in the phases of feasibility plan, and what are the risk issues and what is the business, the age of specific area. Because parking, you see, I used to go the city and we pay $10 sometime per hour. Sometime even if you see, go New York and you want to, park your car, you have to pay $10 per hour. And this is big industry and big business. It's not that, your city, one day you will see the same. Because I can see now, we have visionary mind, we have been working with the very greatest mind in our life, and we know this city has potential. This city only lacking is the plan, master plan, where everybody has to go and work. And if you put, some advertise or the invest plan, or we should drive some, campaign to invest plan, build a plan, whatever we can make one logo. And we start, believe or not, this will go very fast and you are having, booming the business. And we have to bring great idea, like, we have fish aquarium, one fish aquarium, if you build, you having maybe 100 or 1,000 of tourists, and you have the, business and taxes and everything. Any one, you just take it and you can get the revenue. So my only point that I think we have, over, what we talk, we have one that we can convey this to our, decision maker, who are in the county level or government level, who can also start to implement, start to do something that it make the difference. Because maybe we talk when we sit and we have many discussions, but if we go for action plan, it needs something that go for the sequence and go on where we can go for the follow-up that we discussed, and it was really a great plan, and it need action, and who will take action, and who will take all the steps that it come into the reality. So that is my point. The most I request all of you that we have to solve immediately internet issue. You see, this is the United States of America, and we don't have, fast internet, and you cannot do anything, which is most important for all of us. So
they're doing a fiber optic internet, aren't they? Is that something that's
Our
going on?
project has three providers, choice between.
Sorry, actually, I will only miss one point, because I used to work with the smart city, the way the Gulf, they are building the smart city where you have the, Alexa and all the, next generation facility. So I mean to say that something that we can put in future point of view, and we can also add in our plan, which is the next 30 to 50 year requirement. I mean to say infrastructure, and this cannot be changed on the yearly basis. So what we are talking, mean to say that might will be for the next 50 years. So that I mean to say, if saw almost all United States of America. If you say last I drove 8,000 miles, I saw in this small city, because I used to also love to have the documentary as well, and also the research, and make the comparison, what is the best, believe or not. I am not very old here, but believe or not, I love this place and city. This is the most beautiful, and this is the most dynamic area. There you can only imagine and you can get everything. Because I don't think you have a problem for investment. If you don't have local investment, if you make plan, I will manage for you the investment. That's no issue, but it's need to see in the real that investor believe that this should be in the long-term city plan, long-term government long.
Yeah, no, it's all, you know, I just say, I'm getting bored, that's what's getting me around here. And if something don't happen here pretty soon, I'm gonna start something, because you know, we just talk a lot and no action, and it's just that, it's all words. And we need people around here, I'm not talking, I'm talking. I just see that, you know, there's a lot of words spoken with no action. We need to get action going around here. How you get action is you got to stick your nose in it 100%, and you got to be involved. You can't come to church once a week and you know what I mean. You go to work. You go to work once a week and expect to get paid. That ain't gonna work. You know, I watch what old Pete Carroll says about all in. You know, his players are all in, and that's the way I kind of look at this town. I'm all in, and it's frustrating when you got other. And I understand there's rules, regulations, and stuff, but I think a lot of it is people. They talk, they do this, they do that, but it nothing happens, and that's where.
Well, it has to make economic sense, Mike.
Yeah.
You know, businesses can't survive failing.
Yep.
And so they do the economics, they study it, they sharpen their pencils as sharp as they can make them. They try to sharpen everybody's pencils around them, so everybody's doing their very best. And at the end of the day, it's going to pencil out, and it'll work, and they'll drive it to completion or drive it to fulfillment, or it's not going to happen. Now, the city can do as much as it can do to set the table, so to speak, so the zoning's correct, and attitude's correct, and things get done in a proper way. But at the end of the day, we can't sharpen those pencils.
Yeah.
You can open the door, or allow the door to be unlocked, because I'm just saying, between Blaine and Ferndale, we're more Ferndale. I mean, I love Blaine even more now than I ever did, but you gotta unlock the door. And I'm just telling you, people will walk away. I've seen it over and over and over in Ferndale, where it's like, this isn't worth it. You know, the numbers will work, but you gotta open it, you gotta unlock the door and allow it. And Blaine with some good leadership, and you know, both at mayoral, but also just like, you know, we're so excited about you. Believe me, we've talked about you for a long time, even though we didn't know your name.
You don't really know me.
Yeah, no. We just, you know, the conversation has come up a lot. That we need change. We need someone that is welcomes, you know, and wants this town to be all it can be. Because I don't think it's been that way up until now, you know, now, and you know, whether you.
And things that get me frustrated, and I know I'm a quick jumper, but you know, just take a look at the town, you know, what's happening, you know.
And it can be contagious. I think you know, it's a sleeper. I've known Blaine as a sleeper for I don't know how long.
Yeah.
It's been fun for me to just fall into this. I mean, you know.
And like you said, open the door, but you know, and then we get the door. We got to get the city on board with. Because I swear, we've been strung along down the road here.
The door's unlocked, now we just gotta open it.
Well, not only do you need to open it, but you need to make sure that the commitments that the city's already made are fulfilled, or you're gonna scare people off. I mean, you can't have this master plan say, oh, come here, we've annexed this property and we've got all these services, and then say, oh, shit, we don't have any sewer, or we don't have any water. I mean, that's where we need to focus first. Is to take care of the commitments that the city's already made.
And what I was going to say is that, using the door as an example, is that there are people trying to shut that door, right? There are people who do not want development, they do not want growth. They look at development as an evil thing. And they're active. They're not, you know, passive.
We've already got what we want, and no one else can have it.
They've had 30, for the last 30 years I've been here, not 30, but say 25 of it, they've gotten their way. And look at us, you know, we're vacant. You know, you can't have blood. You can't live without blood going through your veins. And to me, I look like, are we going to be A&W or McDonald's? We can get nobody knows what a mom and pop burger is anymore, and we'll follow. We won't have infrastructure because we can't put a parking garage because we have no money. I'll bet you Linden, if they wanted a parking garage, they could put in a parking garage. And that's the thought life that I'm tired of to me, I mean, I may sound cold and hard, but if they keep bitching, you know, I get them once in a while, I could say, hey, you know, it may be time to move.
No, I'm disagreeing with you, I'm just telling you.
No,
As a city council person, if I were your advisor,
Yeah.
I'd say figure out a way to navigate that narrow, windy bridge, because it's tipping on either side. You don't want a council next time who's anti-growth. And it'll shut it down faster than a heartbeat.
It's been.
So you gotta navigate this thing in such a fashion that you can continue to get the momentum and the success flowing. And pretty soon that will then render itself more.
That's an excellent point.
Really?
And along with that, like, the internet will.
That's
Yeah, there's
even you are noticing, everybody noticing.
Yeah.
He was starting to say in their development, they have three providers, choices of three, and you actually have.
There's Pogo, Comcast, and Ziply.
You should go up and see their.
All five, there's three fibers going through our project.
When you have time, go and see their development. It's beautiful. I mean, it's you know, very well planned. No, you just go see it. Yeah. You make sure you go. He'll email you.
That's so good that you have Pogo Zone. We tried to get Pogo Zone, and it's really quite expensive.
They're good, right?
That's right. It's just up there. What?
I get it.
2 miles up where I'm at. It was gonna cost about 60 grand just to get started. 1 square mile.
It was good to see you.
3 streets.
Yeah, to see you, Dan.
I'm gonna be back, I'm just talking to you for a minute.
Like our church tries to be active, and
All right, well, thank you.
if there's anything we can do.
Excuse me. Group photo, only one time.
Let's go.
Yes, yes. We can make group photo, we can make it, please, one
Oh,
minute.
it's a big step.
There's another water meeting at 10:30 this morning.
I wasn't kidding around. We've been talking about it. We didn't know who you were yet. Yeah, I mean, we can fulfill
Yeah,
some
next
topics we really
We
avoid.
can, yeah, I need to go check on my guys.
Yeah, well, we'll get everything out of you we can.
Good seeing you, bud.
Okay.
Can you, we have the group photo?
Oh, he wants a group photo.
Group photo.
Yeah, Becky, group photo.
Yeah, you remember I said right after, we would go, you block out an hour and a half because you had a meeting with someone else.
Yeah, I do. At 9. How much? Because you would
Remember you said you would.
Yeah, yes, yeah.
Well, Craig is not available.
We can
this morning,
make it.
so we can reschedule it, or we can go up there and have a tour.
No,
Guys, they just want, he wants a
we
quick
need you for
photo.
an hour.
Okay.
So, I've got a 9 o'clock I need to go to.
Well,
Okay.
let's reschedule.
And now this meeting you tell me with public works,
Yeah, let's get
is that
that.
at 10
All
o'clock?
right, this
Hey,
is
guys,
really,
let's get a quick
really
picture.
good.
Hey, guys. Hey, Mike.
Skip. Mike.
He wants a quick, we don't want to stand around too long here. I mean, we love group photos. But
Yes. Yeah,
You like standing together?
yes. I also after want among you, because if somebody take my, and we can have, you know, a fair. One minute, I want with you also. If you can take.
Oh, you want to be in there?
Yeah, I want
okay.
to be.
Okay.
And then we'll get a little shady. No, she wants to be in the next one.
No,
Yeah.
goofy one. All right.
Okay, let me get this way right here. All right,
Make sure we're all in it.
everybody smile.
Yeah.
Okay.
All
All
right.
right, there you go.
There, want a few people sitting down, a few standing up.
Right.
Thank you.